All right, so welcome to the deep dive. And today we're tackling something I think a lot of you out there are interested in learning more about, and that is how to really connect with people in sales.
Yeah.
And to help us with this, we're diving into a book by Larry Levine. It's called Selling from the Heart.
Yeah.
And it's a book that promises to change how we think about building those relationships
Absolutely.
in sales.
For sure.
So Levine's been in sales, it sounds like, for quite a while.
Yeah, he's a veteran.
Yeah,
He's got a ton of experience
he
and
does.
he brings a unique perspective on how to be successful, but while also staying true to yourself.
Right. And I think that's the part that so many people struggle with
Oh, absolutely.
is like, how do you find that balance?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that Levine really tries to get at in this book.
He does. And he starts with his own story.
Okay.
And which is pretty incredible.
What's his story?
Well, so he actually only made $18,000.
His first year in sales.
Oh my God.
And he really struggled.
Yeah.
He talks about how he really struggled to find his footing and just really figure things out.
Okay, but I'm guessing he didn't just give up.
No, he did not give up.
What did he do?
He had this realization
Yeah.
that trying to be like other salespeople just wasn't working for him.
Okay.
He had to find his own style, his own way of connecting with people.
So like finding your own sales voice?
Exactly. It wasn't about trying to copy someone else. It was about figuring out who he was and how that translated into his sales approach.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's more about self-discovery than like trying to mimic some sales guru.
Absolutely. And he gives you a framework for that self-discovery.
Really?
He actually lays out these really powerful questions
Okay.
that you should ask yourself.
Like what?
Things like, what are my unique strengths? What are my weaknesses? What genuinely excites me about my work? So it's not just this fluffy self-help stuff.
Right.
It's about getting to the core of what makes you you and how that shows up
Okay.
in your sales approach.
I like that because it makes it seem a lot more attainable than just like, be authentic. Be authentic. Like, how do I even do that?
Totally. And he doesn't sugarcoat it either.
Yeah.
You know, he's very clear that sales is a tough business.
That's true.
And he compares it to the NFL.
Does he really?
Yeah.
I was just thinking that. It is kind of like,
Yeah.
you gotta be tough out there.
You got to be tough. You got to have that resilience. And he talks about how a lot of salespeople hold themselves back
Okay.
with these limiting beliefs, like thinking there are only a few right ways to prospect.
Yeah, I think we've all fallen into that trap at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when there's so much talk about cold calling being dead.
Right.
So does Levine think cold calling is dead?
Well, he has an interesting take on it.
Okay.
He doesn't necessarily say it's dead, but he does say it needs a serious update.
Okay.
He talks about this idea of the social window, which I thought was fascinating.
What's that?
It's kind of like how we used to peer into people's lives,
Oh.
through their windows.
Yeah.
But now we do it online.
Right.
And his point is that we need to be using tools like LinkedIn and Twitter to listen to the voice of our clients.
Okay.
Like really understand what they're struggling with.
Yeah.
And how we can actually help them.
So it's not just about like blasting out
Exactly.
sales messages.
Yeah, it's about being present.
Being present and actually listening.
Listening, engaging,
Yeah.
understanding.
Understanding where you're coming from. So how does all of this tie back into that selling from the heart thing?
Well, this is where Levine introduces this idea of servant-led leadership.
Okay, that sounds a little counterintuitive, I gotta say.
I know, right?
Because, I mean, aren't salespeople supposed to be like laser focused on closing deals?
Yeah, you would think.
Not serving their clients? I mean, is this like
Right.
taking the customer is always right
Yeah.
to like a whole new level?
It's not about being a pushover, though,
Okay.
or just bending over backwards for every client.
Okay.
It's more about,
So what is it about then?
well, he gives this great example in the book
Okay.
about two salespeople, George and Kevin.
Okay.
George is that old school, always be closing type.
Oh, yeah. I know it, George.
Always pushing for the sale.
Yep.
And then there's Kevin,
Okay.
who's more focused on actually helping his clients succeed, even if it doesn't lead to an immediate sale.
I bet I know who ends up with the better results.
Who do you think?
I'm going to go with Kevin.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Kevin ends up with the stronger relationships and ultimately the better results.
Yeah. Because people can see through that. Right?
Yeah,
They can see when you're not being genuine, when
Yeah.
you're just in it for yourself.
For sure.
But when you actually care about their success,
That's when you build trust.
that's when you build the trust.
Yeah, and loyalty.
So how do you actually put this into practice, though?
Right.
Like, it sounds good in theory,
Yeah.
but how do you make it happen?
Levine gets really specific,
Okay.
and he talks about
Think what?
the importance of understanding your client's needs better than they understand them themselves.
Okay.
So it's about being a problem solver,
Mm-hmm.
not just a product pusher.
Okay.
And it's about being genuinely invested in their success,
Okay.
even after you've closed the deal.
Oh, so it's like the relationship doesn't end there.
Exactly. That's how you build what he calls a relationship fortress.
He really uses the word fortress.
He does.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a powerful metaphor.
What does he mean by that?
He's talking about building a relationship that's so strong,
Mm-hmm.
so fortified,
Okay.
that it can withstand any competition
Uh-huh.
or market shifts.
I see.
And he even shares a personal story
Oh.
about losing a major client
Really?
because his successor didn't nurture the relationships he had built.
Wow.
So it shows just how critical this long-term view is.
So closing the deal isn't the finish line.
It's just the starting point.
It's just the beginning.
Yep.
Okay, so, and I'm guessing this ties into his emphasis on continuous learning.
Absolutely. He's a huge advocate for salespeople investing in their own education.
Right, like going above and beyond
Above and beyond.
what your company might offer.
Exactly. And he's talking about conferences, books, even hiring coaches.
Wow.
He says that salespeople should aim to know 10 times more content
10 times.
of their clients.
Oh my gosh, that seems like a high bar.
It is a high bar.
But I guess in today's world
Yeah.
where information is everywhere,
Right. Everybody has access to so much information.
people expect you to be an expert.
They do.
Right.
They expect you to be a resource,
Yeah.
not just a salesperson.
Right.
So you need to have that deep knowledge.
It's an investment in yourself.
Exactly.
It's not an expense.
It's an investment in your career.
Right.
It's an investment in your clients.
So no more empty suits.
He actually calls it commission breath.
Commission breath.
Yeah, that desperation
Right.
that turns clients off.
Nobody wants to feel that.
Nobody wants to feel that pressure.
Yeah.
You know,
No, and it feels icky.
it feels icky. It feels inauthentic.
Yeah.
And Levine is all about authenticity
Yeah.
and aligning yourself with what you truly believe in.
Hmm.
So it's not just about selling something.
Right.
It's about selling something you believe in.
I love that.
Yeah,
It just takes the pressure off
it does.
of like trying to
Yeah.
be someone you're not.
Exactly.
Finding that,
Be yourself.
be yourself, your sales voice.
That's what's going to resonate.
Yeah. So I love that.
Powerful stuff.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
mindset, prospecting,
Right.
servant leadership,
Yeah.
building those relationships.
It's all connected.
It is all connected, and we're just getting started.
I know. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
So I'm excited to see where Levine takes us next.
Me too.
All right, so stay tuned for more of the deep dive
Yeah, we'll be right back
after the break.
with more from Selling from the Heart.
Don't go away.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how Levine uses that relationship fortress metaphor.
Yeah, because it does sound a little intense when you first hear it, right?
Yes, it's like, whoa, hold on.
Okay, building a fortress around?
It sounds very militaristic.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think what he's getting at is
Uh-huh.
this idea of a strategic approach
Okay,
to building relationships.
right.
It's not just about being friends with your clients, right?
Right.
It goes way deeper than that.
And he even shared that personal story,
Did.
about losing that major client.
Yeah, because his successor just didn't prioritize
Right.
those relationships.
And that makes it a lot more real.
It does.
When you hear a story like that, you think, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So it's more than just a concept. It's like an actual strategy.
It's something you have to actively work on
Yeah.
and maintain.
So what are like the actual steps
Right.
involved in building this so-called fortress?
Well, one of the key things Levine emphasizes
Okay.
is that you got to shift your mindset
Okay.
from thinking about transactions
Mm-hmm.
to thinking about partnerships.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just about getting that signature
Right.
on the dotted line.
It's what happens after.
It's about what happens afterwards.
Okay.
He argues that a lot of salespeople make that initial push.
Mm-hmm.
They get the sale, they celebrate,
Right.
and then
They disappear.
they kind of disappear
On to the next one.
onto the next conquest.
It's like they've already got that commission breath
Exactly.
that we were talking about earlier.
They've mentally checked out.
Yeah, they're already on to the next thing.
Right.
So, but a Selling from the Heart pro
Yes.
understands that that's just the beginning.
The real work begins after the deal is closed.
Right. Okay, so how do you actually do that?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So Levine suggests a few different strategies.
Okay.
One of the most important ones
Yeah.
is regular check-in visits.
Okay.
And these aren't about trying to upsell or cross-sell.
Okay.
They're really about making sure the client is happy
Okay.
with the solution that you provided.
Like, are they actually getting the results?
Exactly. Are they
Yeah.
getting the results they expected?
Okay.
Are there any challenges they're facing?
Okay, so it's like preventative maintenance.
It is. It's like preventive maintenance for the relationship.
Yeah.
You're catching those little issues
Right.
before they become big problems.
I like that.
And he also emphasizes building relationships with multiple people
Oh, right.
within the client's organization.
Because what if your contact leaves?
Exactly. What happens if your main contact leaves?
You're starting from scratch.
You're starting from scratch.
Right.
So you want to become a trusted advisor
Right.
to the entire organization,
Not just one person.
not just one individual.
Yeah, and this is where I think that continuous learning
Absolutely.
really comes in.
Yeah, the more you know about their industry,
Right.
their challenges, their goals,
The more valuable you are.
the more valuable you become as a resource.
Right. It's not just about what they can do for you.
Exactly.
It's about what you can do for them.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah, and I think that's what sets apart
Yeah,
a professional from someone who's just chasing a commission.
absolutely.
Right.
He actually recommends scheduling quarterly business reviews
Okay.
with your clients.
Okay.
So these are more formal meetings
Okay.
where you sit down
Yeah.
and you review progress,
Mm-hmm.
you set goals,
Okay.
you identify any potential roadblocks.
So you're really invested.
It shows that you're invested in their long-term success.
And I like that he gives you a framework to
Definitely.
actually make that happen.
He does. He's very practical.
Yeah, it's not just like vague advice.
No, it's actionable steps.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
here's what you can do
Yeah.
to make this work.
And he's also realistic about the fact that we live in a digital world.
Oh, right. You can't always be there in person.
You can't always be there in person.
Especially if you're dealing with clients across the country or the globe.
Exactly. So he encourages using technology like video conferencing
Okay.
to stay connected.
So you can still maintain that
That personal touch.
personal touch even when you can't be there physically.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's finding that balance.
It is. It's finding that balance
Uh-huh.
between adapting to the modern business landscape,
Mm-hmm.
but also staying true
Right.
to those core principles
To those core principles.
of relationship building.
And this brings us back to that question of selling from the heart. Like,
Yeah.
how does all of this tie into
Right.
authenticity,
Yeah.
genuine connection?
Well, Levine's argument is that when you genuinely care
yeah,
about your client's success,
it shows.
it shows up in everything you do.
Yeah, it's not an act.
It's not an act. It's a way of being.
Right.
And people can tell.
People can totally tell.
They can tell when you're being phony
Yeah.
or when you're just in it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And it's not a good look.
No, it's not a good look at all.
It's not.
But when you're genuinely invested in their well-being,
Right.
that's when you build trust.
Yeah.
That's when you build loyalty.
And that transforms the relationship
Yes.
from just a transaction.
From purely transactional
Does
to
I
an
see it?
actual partnership.
It's-
To true partnership.
So it's not just some like feel-good philosophy.
It's not. It's a smart business strategy.
It's good for the client
It's good for everyone.
and your bottom line.
And it's good for your bottom line. Exactly.
Okay, so we've got building genuine relationships. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got continuous learning.
Right.
And this is something that Levine is really, really passionate about.
He is. He dedicates a whole chapter to it.
Yeah.
He really
Yeah.
emphasizes that salespeople need to constantly be learning and growing.
It's not just about like going to a seminar once a year and calling it a day.
It's about a commitment to lifelong learning.
Right, like investing in your own education.
Exactly. He talks about the sales job hopper syndrome,
What's that?
where people just kind of jump from job to job,
Oh.
relying on their past experience.
Okay.
But they never really take the time to hone their skills
Yeah, yeah.
and deepen their knowledge.
They're like a piece of software
Yes.
that's never updated.
That's a great analogy.
Right, they're using like Windows 95.
Exactly.
And they just can't handle the challenges.
They crash.
They crash, yeah,
Yeah.
of today's world.
And Levine argues that in today's world,
Right.
that's a recipe for failure.
Yeah, because things are changing so fast.
Things are changing so fast.
The technology's
You
changing.
got to stay ahead of the curve.
Right, absolutely. You have to.
You have to adapt.
So he's saying you've got to adopt that growth mindset
Yes,
of
absolutely.
always looking for new information, new skills,
New perspective.
new perspectives. Yeah.
He's talking conferences,
Yeah.
books, podcasts,
Right.
even hiring coaches.
He even says salespeople should aim to know 10 times more content
10 times more
than their clients.
than their clients.
That seems impossible.
That sounds crazy, right?
But I guess it speaks to that overall point
It does.
of the more you...
The more value you can offer,
Right.
the more you can position yourself
that expert.
as a trusted expert.
Right, and that's what people are looking for.
That's what they're looking for.
They don't want someone who just knows a little bit.
Exactly. They want someone who can guide them.
Right, they want to be led.
They want to be educated.
And you can't do that if you're not constantly
Exactly.
learning and growing yourself.
You have to be a student of the game.
Right.
Always learning, always growing.
So I guess what we're saying is
Yeah.
learning is an investment.
It's an investment, not an expense.
Not an expense, right?
And successful salespeople get that.
And that's such a crucial mindset shift. Because so many people, I think, view it as, oh, this is an extra cost.
It's a burden.
But it's an investment in your future.
It's an investment in your career.
Right.
It's an investment in your clients.
So it pays off in the long run.
In so many ways.
All right. So we've got building those relationships.
Uh-huh.
We've got continuous learning.
Yep.
And I guess the other piece of this is becoming that expert.
Absolutely. And that goes beyond just knowing your product or service.
Right. You got to know more than that.
It's about understanding your industry.
Okay.
Your clients' needs.
Right.
The challenges they face.
The trends.
The trends, the competition.
So you can become that trusted advisor.
Exactly. Someone they can rely on.
Someone they can come to for advice.
For insights and guidance.
Right. And not just view you as a salesperson.
Exactly.
But as like a partner.
As a resource.
Yeah, as a resource.
Someone who's genuinely invested
in their success.
In their success.
Okay, so how do you build that expertise?
Well, Levine emphasizes that it takes time and effort.
So you don't just become an expert overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process.
Okay.
It's about immersing yourself in your field.
Okay.
Staying up to date on industry trends. Reading publications.
Attending conferences.
Networking with other professionals.
So it's a continuous process.
It is.
It's not like you reach a certain point.
You never stop learning.
And you're done.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's inspiring.
It is.
Because it means that anyone can become an expert.
Anyone can.
With enough dedication and effort.
With the right mindset.
Right.
And the willingness to put in the work.
Yeah, and Levine doesn't just preach this.
He embodies it.
He actually embodies it.
He's constantly sharing his knowledge.
He is.
Through his blog.
His podcast.
Now this book.
Right.
He's a living example of what it means to be a lifelong learner.
I like that he's walking the walk.
He is. He's not just talking the talk.
Not just talking the talk.
He's walking the walk.
So we've got building those relationships. We've got continuous learning.
Yeah.
We've got becoming that expert.
Right.
Sounds like a pretty solid recipe for success.
I think so.
But I'm curious, what does he say about, handling those setbacks?
Oh, the inevitable setbacks.
Because they're going to happen.
They happen to everyone.
Right. So, you hit a wall.
You face rejection.
You lose a deal.
Yeah, sales is full of ups and downs.
It's a roller coaster.
It is a roller coaster.
What does he say about navigating those rough patches?
That's a great question because we've been talking about all the positive things about selling from the heart. Building those relationships, being an expert.
Right.
Continuous learning.
Yeah.
But like you said.
Yeah.
It's not always rainbows and butterflies, right?
No, it's not.
There are going to be times when you get knocked down, you face rejection.
You hit a wall.
You lose a deal.
Those tough times.
What does Levine say about how to deal with those setbacks and challenges?
Well, he doesn't shy away from that stuff.
He actually dedicates a good chunk of the book.
Really?
To addressing that mental and emotional side of sales.
Okay.
And he acknowledges that it can be a roller coaster.
Yeah. It is.
And that resilience is really key.
Okay, so it's not just about being nice and building relationships.
Right.
It's also about having that toughness.
You got to have that grit.
To keep going when things get tough.
To get back up when you get knocked down.
Yeah.
And he talks about developing a mindset.
Okay.
That allows you to view those challenges as opportunities for growth.
So learn from your mistakes.
Exactly. Successful salespeople don't dwell on failures.
Okay.
They learn from them and they move forward.
Okay, that's a good point.
And it goes back to that NFL analogy.
Right, yeah.
You got to be able to take a hit and get back up.
You got to keep playing.
You got to keep playing.
Yeah, so he talks about having a positive attitude.
Yes, even when things are going sideways.
Okay.
And he's very clear that it's not about being delusional or ignoring problems. Yeah. It's about choosing to focus on solutions.
Okay.
And possibilities.
Okay, so it's like shifting your perspective.
It's a perspective shift.
To focus on the good.
To focus on what you can control.
Yeah, okay.
And what you can learn from those experiences.
Okay, so how do you actually develop that mental toughness, though? It's easy to say, be positive, be positive.
It's easier said than done.
But how do you actually do it?
Well, he gives some really practical tips.
Okay, like what?
One thing he emphasizes is surrounding yourself with a supportive network
Okay.
of colleagues and mentors and friends,
Yeah.
people who can offer encouragement and guidance.
So it's like building that relationship fortress around
If
yourself.
it's like having your own personal cheerleading squad.
Okay.
You need that support system
To pick you up when you fall.
to help you through those tough times.
Yeah, because it's easy to feel alone
Oh, absolutely.
in sales, right?
Especially in sales, it can be a very isolating profession
Be competitive.
and competitive, yeah.
Yeah. So it's important to have those people
It's crucial
who you can lean on.
who have your back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he also talks about celebrating your successes,
Okay.
no matter how small they might seem,
Oh, that's a good one.
because every win helps build momentum
Oh, okay.
and it reinforces that positive mindset.
So, like, don't just focus on what's not working.
Exactly. Acknowledge your accomplishments
Okay.
and be grateful for the opportunities and the people you get to work with.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your perspective
But a positive.
to focus on the good.
Yeah, to focus on the good.
And, one thing that really stood out to me throughout the book
Yeah.
is Levine's unwavering emphasis on authenticity.
Yes. He talks about that a lot.
It's like a thread that runs through every chapter,
Every concept.
every strategy, every story.
It's like the foundation
It is the foundation
of his whole philosophy.
of his whole philosophy.
And he's really passionate about encouraging salespeople to
Yeah.
be themselves.
To let their true personalities shine through.
Yeah, and not try to fit into some mold.
No cookie cutter salespeople allowed.
No.
Be you, embrace your uniqueness.
That's what makes you stand out.
That's what connects with people.
Yeah, and he makes a really interesting point about mediocrity.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't like mediocrity.
He hates it.
Does he really?
Yeah, he calls it the enemy of excellence.
Wow.
And he says that true sales professionals
Yeah.
are always striving to be better.
Okay.
They're always learning. They're always growing.
Not settling.
Not settling for average.
Right.
They're not content with just hitting their quota.
They want to go above and beyond.
They want to exceed expectations
Yeah.
and make a real difference.
So set high standards for yourself.
High standards, always pushing your limits.
Never stop learning.
Never stop growing.
That growth mindset.
Growth mindset is everything.
And he includes all these inspiring stories in the book
He does. He tells a lot of great stories.
of salespeople who are living these principles
Who are walking the walk.
and achieving success.
And it really brings his message to life.
It does.
Because it shows that it's not just some theory.
Right.
It's something that actually works.
Yeah. It's a philosophy that can really have an impact
It can transform your career
in your life.
and your life.
Yeah. Okay.
And in the final chapter,
Yeah.
he challenges us to write our own manifesto,
A manifesto. Okay.
a declaration of our values,
Okay.
our commitment to selling with integrity
And authenticity.
and authenticity.
So it's like defining your personal brand.
It's like, who am I as a salesperson?
Right. And what do I stand for?
What do I stand for? What kind of legacy do I want to leave?
Be bold. Be courageous.
Don't be afraid to be different.
I like that.
It's a powerful way to end the book.
Yeah, he's not just giving you information.
He's giving you a call to action.
Right. Like, go out there and do this.
Make it happen.
So we've journeyed through Larry Levine's Selling from the Heart,
We have
explored his personal story,
his insights on relationships,
continuous learning.
authenticity.
And I think the key takeaway here
Yeah.
is that selling is about so much more than just closing deals.
It's about connecting with people.
It's about building trust.
It's about making a positive impact.
Right. It's about shifting your mindset
Yeah.
from seeing sales as a transaction
To seeing it as an opportunity
to build relationships.
to make a difference.
Yeah. And Levine's book really gives you a roadmap for doing that.
It's a practical guide
It is.
to selling with heart.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into selling from the heart,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Selling is ultimately about human connection.
It's about relationships,
Yeah.
solving problems.
Making a positive impact.
And when you approach it with authenticity,
Yeah.
integrity,
Yeah.
a genuine desire to serve,
It goes a long way.
you create a ripple effect
That's a good way to put it.
that extends far beyond just closing a deal.
I like that.
You build trust.
You foster loyalty
You create a legacy.
that you can be proud of.
So go out there and sell from the heart.
Yeah. What do you have to lose?
I guarantee it will transform your career and your life
Absolutely.
ways you can't even imagine.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
Don't be a stranger.